Now it's the 1st of October. There's something I'm forgetting to do. Now what is it? Can't think what it is. We all know what it is. Well, do we? I don't know. Maybe we do. I've had a number of emails off of a few people, a number of messages, wondering if I was going to do another 31 Horrors of Mike, and the answer is no, I'm not. That's a lie, because yes I am, and this is the first episode. So if you don't know what the 31 Horrors of Mike is, well, I did it last year. It's where I do a movie review of a horror film each day of October leading up to Halloween, because Halloween is my favourite time of year, and also because horror is my favourite genre. Now the other point is that I felt really bad because I have, not really uploaded in the same way this year that I did last year, and I'm really sorry about that. It's just been the way things have worked out. So doing 31 Horrors of Mike this month is kind of my thank you to all of you who've stuck with this channel and still commented on the few videos that I have uploaded over the past 6 or 7 months. So the selection I've got this year is a wide range again. Just like last year we did silent movies, Universal era, B-movies, up into the Hammer horror era in the 60s, exploitation 70s, cheesy slasher picks in the 80s, postmodern horror flicks in the 90s, and more modern ones in the last decade. So it's the same thing again. It's going to be films, some of them you're going to know, some of them you're going to be aware of, others maybe you won't, aren't as popular, and I think they should be given a second look. So I'm really looking forward to doing this again, because I loved doing the 31 Horrors of Mike last year. Had some great conversations with all of you about different horror movies, and I'm really looking forward to doing that again. And I will say, last year I actually changed my list as I went along, because people suggested certain films, I checked them out and I added them into the list, because I thought, yeah, they definitely deserve to be there. So by all means, suggest other horror films that you'd like to hear me talk about. Maybe I'll check them out, and who knows, maybe I'll put them into the list. Maybe they're already there, who knows. So the first horror of, I'm going to start again, the first episode of 31 Horrors of Mike this year is going to be on a film that I've touched upon before, but I thought I'd get things kicked off with one of my favourite horror movies, The Prince of Darkness. It was released in 1987, directed by John Carpenter. It stars Lisa Blount, Jameson Parker, and some Carpenter regulars like Donald Pleasence, Victor Wong, Dennis Dunn. And it's really, in some ways it has a science fiction element to it. It's about a research group of students who go to this church in this sort of abandoned area of town, where an old priest has died, and he died clutching a key basically that led down into the basement. And Donald Pleasence's character, Father Loomis, and that's right, the same name as he had in Halloween. I like to think sometimes that he went from Dr. Loomis to Father Loomis because after being confronted with the true evil of Michael Myers, but maybe just a relative, but I think it's probably just a little bit of a wink at the audience. But anyway, so Father Loomis discovers that there's this vertical standing green casket with all of this ooze swirling around it, and he doesn't know what it is. So he asks his friend, who's a professor played by Victor Wong, if he'll come in with some of his students to try and assess and find out what it is. And he's afraid, he's worried that it actually contains something, hideously evil. Whereas Victor Wong and his students want to quantify what it is and scientifically explore the nature of it. So the research students go to this church, and like I say, it's in a sort of abandoned part of town. And slowly what happens is that whatever's in the casket starts to exhibit an effect on those who are around it. First of all, the homeless people in the area start to encircle the church, and eventually what happens is that the research students realise that they can't leave, otherwise the homeless people who are being possessed or controlled by something will tear them apart outside. And then what happens is that they start to be affected by it inside the church, and some of them start to become possessed and start to attack the others. And they seem to have some sort of weird, sordid, satanic plan, because the whole idea eventually is that the question is, what is in the casket? Is it the Antichrist? Because there's a lock inside. The casket is not on the outside, and it's slowly being unlocked. So is something trying to come through into our world. At the same time, the students start receiving these dreams and having similar dreams to one another. It's where there's a voice saying that the images they're seeing are being transported from, or transmitted rather, from the future. And they start to see these really quite horrible images of the front of the church and something coming out of it, as if something hideous will emerge and they have to stop it. So it's really this kind of siege film, the same way Carpenter's done a lot of siege films, like Assault on Precinct 13 and latterly Ghosts of Mars and things like that. And but there's a siege inside as well. There's the possession aspect inside and the enemy outside. So it follows a lot of Carpenter's sort of tropes. It's reminiscent in some ways of The End of the Fog, where they're inside the church. But for me, it's his most underrated film. I think it's an excellent horror movie. I think the cinematography is great. The soundtrack is fantastic. It's a great Carpenter soundtrack. And it has genuine scares in it. It's genuinely creepy. There's some great physical effects in it, great makeup effects. And it also makes you think. It really questions the relationship between science and religion, and how science can try to quantify some of the big questions, like, is there a God? Is there a devil? Is there an afterlife? And things like that. And there's a lot of really great questioning of sort of modern physics and things like that. And that's where the idea came from, because Carpenter wrote the film after reading about theoretical physics, and that's where the sort of slant of this movie comes from. And it's very much grounded in the writings of Nigel Kneale, who was a writer mostly for television over here. And he wrote things like the Quatermass and the Pit, and the pen name that Carpenter used for writing this film was actually Martin Quatermass. So that was a little nod to the writings of Nigel Kneale, although apparently he wasn't too happy about that, about his character's name being used for that. But I think it was a nice little tribute, especially when the film is this good. People talk about other Carpenter films like The Thing, which is amazing, Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China. They're all fantastic films. Prince of Darkness is the film that a lot of people just miss out. People even talk about, you see, there's what Carpenter calls the Apocalypse trilogy, which is The Thing, Prince of Darkness, and In the Mouth of Madness. And people tend to talk more about The Thing, but because it's a masterpiece. But they talk about In the Mouth of Madness as well, which, as much as I like In the Mouth of Madness, I don't think it's anywhere near as good as Prince of Darkness. Prince of Darkness to me is like classic Carpenter. It's when he was at the height of his game. And I really can't recommend it enough. It's great. The editing and pacing of it, especially in the last half hour of the film, is phenomenal. It creates this real sense of dread, of excitement, of impending doom of something coming out. And you're coming through from the other world. That sounds like somebody coming out and saying, "Hello, I'm gay." No, not like that. But it really makes you, the pacing of it really makes you feel that there's something's going to happen, and the whole end sequence of it is just fantastic. It has one of the greatest shocks probably in cinema history, one of the greatest frights, jump out scares, but it's been ruined by an animated GIF which is shown around quite often, which is a shame, but it's just one of these things. And the ending of it's absolutely fantastic. It's kind of leaves you questioning things in the way that a film should. So that's The Prince of Darkness. It was, released in 1987. Go and check it out. Are there weaknesses in the film? Yeah, there are, but it's not as good as The Thing. But it's still, I think, one of his best movies. I really, really love it. So definitely go check that out, The Prince of Darkness. And I'll be back tomorrow with another of my 31 horrors of Mike. And it's good to be talking to all of you again. So let me know what you all think, and I will see you all tomorrow. Good night.